Hello, everyone. This is Steven Schinder on another Yesshift episode, specifically Steven's Vinyl Adventures episode. And on this one, I'm going to be talking a bit about the Steve Howe release that just came out earlier this month titled Signals Crossed. Now, before I get into it, just want to say thanks to Dad for holding down the fort last week. I had to take some time off. I might go into the reason at a different point, but in the meantime, I want to just focus on this release. And this will probably be a shorter episode given that the runtime of this record is not very long, but for context, Signals Crossed is the recently released. I suppose it was advertised as an EP, but it might feel more like a single given the runtime. There are three tracks on this, 11 minutes total, and they're all on one side. And this is essentially a supplement to the recently re-released Steve Howe album Portraits of Bob Dylan, which Dad and I talked about not too long ago. I think back in October, if I remember correctly. And we had heard rumblings of this coming out. So yeah, first off, I'll go ahead and show you the front, and then I'll read off the context of the tracks that's included on the back. Like, as you can see, there's a blurb there on the back, and very nice picture of Steve with the guitar on the front with that black and white photograph. Includes the hat. Yeah, I think my mic was briefly muted for a moment for some reason. So hopefully you were able to hear enough of that. But yeah, on the front you got the black and white photo of Steve with his guitar, and you got the House Sound logo, which is the label that he's using for these recent releases and re-releases. So on the back, he says, "I recorded. I so the tracks are I Want You, One Too Many, and Mama, You've Been on My Mind." In this blurb, Steve Howe says, "I recorded I Want You before starting the released Portraits of Bob Dylan tracks, then these two alternative versions of songs in different styles. This version of One Too Many Mornings wasn't in the right key for Phoebe Snow, who sang beautifully to an acoustic version on the released album. This version gives it an electric setting, taking a little from Bob's Hard Rain version. I sang Mama, You've Been on My Mind on the original release, slow and a little mournful, but here has a more upbeat and optimistic flavor. With the vocal harmonies and Dylan Howe's drumming, these tracks retain the mood of what I wanted to explore in 2000. Songs about getting your signals crossed," and includes his little signature there. So yeah, this is apparently a limited release. I got it via, I think it's called Cargo Records. Yeah, the if you go to the link in the post for this episode, there's a link that'll take you to where you can find the record. I believe it should still be available last I checked. So this being only three tracks, well, first off, so I don't even know where to begin. Sorry, I'm so discombobulated just getting back into this a bit. But compared to the Bob Dylan versions, there's not as much harmonica flair as we're used to with all the things he does. And what I noticed compared to Bob's versions of these particular tracks and Steve's takes on them is that Steve adds a bit more to the soundscape, where a couple of these pieces are quieter, and it really gives a new flavor. So it's like not just the same thing, but it still honors the material, I would say. And I really enjoy the moodiness, the emotion of the way that the tracks are conveyed on here. So on I Want You, uh, it's got so on all three of these tracks, actually, you got Stephanie Sounds and Paul K. Joyce doing vocal harmonies. Paul K. Joyce, now that might sound like a familiar name, and that's because he handles the orchestration on the last couple Yes albums, The Quest and Mirror to the Sky, and has apparently done some more of that type of work for the Yes album that will come out next year. Very excited for that. So on I Want You, Steve uses it says here, the Sharpak SKD 6-string acoustic guitar. And then on One Too Many Mornings, we actually have Jeff Downs on organ. He's not super upfront, he's more in the background, and it feels like a nice texture added to things. And I think it's really good. It's really cool to have him there. And you also have Dylan Howe on drums, as well as on the track after this, Mama, You've Been on My Mind. So for One Too Many Mornings, they list the Fender Stringmaster Steel and others, including Rickenbacker bass guitar. And for Mama, You've Been on My Mind, they list the Martin MC38 or 38, I guess, dash SH, the Gibson Chet Atkins, the Kono Model 10, the Rickenbacker bass and keyboards. So each of these are about 3 to 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. I Want You is 4:38. One Too Many Mornings is 3:45. Mama, You've Been on My Mind is 3:16. So altogether, oh, I see in the comments, Raven White says, watching from Peoria, Illinois, USA. All right, thanks for tuning in. So I really enjoyed the music on this. They were all recorded at Langley Studios in Devon, UK, mixed by Curtis Shorts, who of course also worked on the last couple Yes albums. And the Gottlieb brothers did the design. It got Mike Russell credited for the cover photo. This 11 minutes of really great music, really soothing. It really can calm you when things are stressful. That being said, I do wish that this were longer. You know, it's only 11 minutes, and to do all that for this release, you know, it really feels more like like I said, an EP I think of being at least 15 minutes long. So this kind of feels more like a single. And I'll show you how the record looks in a moment. It's white, but yeah, I do kind of wish that there was more on this, that there was something to fill both sides. Now, I do wonder if maybe it's that Steve Howe feels that he has done what he wants to with the Bob Dylan tracks that he wants to, and maybe doesn't feel like he has enough to say or enough to that he'd want to try out with some of the other tracks that aren't on here or on Portraits of Bob Dylan. Or maybe, for all I know, maybe it could be due to royalties, you know, having to license out some more Bob Dylan tracks, hence keeping it to just the 3. But if there are only these 3 tracks, it did make me wonder, why not just put these as bonus tracks on the recently re-released Portraits of Bob Dylan? I checked the runtime, like these definitely still would have fit on the CD. So it's really puzzling. I have a little bit of speculation that, you know, the title signals crossed. This, from what I recall, this title had been with Steve as far back as when he was making the Portraits album, maybe even years before. So I do kind of wonder if he really wanted to use the title, and so this was an excuse for that. Or, of course, another theory could be, you know, it's just to put out another product, get some more income. It's really great music either way. Oh, I see Gilly Good News chiming in saying, "How does Steve's voice sound?" I think it sounds good. I really enjoy whenever Steve Howe sings. And I feel like lots of people give him flack just because he's not, a John Anderson type or a Chris Squire even. Um, like I do wonder if there were a track with Steve Howe on lead vocals and if it were on a compilation amongst other types of singers, like what would people think listening to that whole collection? But yeah, I really enjoy his singing. It sounds like he's really enjoying himself on this. So I'll go ahead and show you the record. So it comes in this white sleeve jacket thing. You can see the center with the circular part with a picture of Steve on one side, and on the other side you got the track list. So the side with the track list, side A, is the playable side. I really love how this whole thing looks. Like, just the white is so shiny, and on the backside, obviously the backside is not playable, but it looks really nice as well. So I think this would perhaps be considered a must-have, at least for collectors of these types of physical products. It is definitely eye candy. The music is really good, like I said. It might depend from person to person, how much do you want to spend, knowing that it's 11 minutes long, but also taking the material into account and the visual appeal. Cargo Records, I believe it was 17 British pounds plus shipping. So all that being said, I don't regret having this in my collection. I really enjoy it. I'm sure I'll give it some more listens, and I really like how it looks and the sleeve as well. So, yeah, I kind of don't know what else to say about it. It's really well put together, just kind of puzzling the way that this whole release format went. But all that being said, really glad that Steve had a great time performing this music and getting this put together. We're looking forward to the Yes album next year as well. So yeah, this is the final Vinyl Adventures episode of this year of 2025. And the actual final episode of this year will be of Yesshift, with me and Dad. It will be this Thursday, December 18th at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. So we're going to do a year in review type of thing. I know there have been a couple of big news items these past couple of weeks pertaining to Asia and Beat, which is a bit more removed from Yes, but I think it's some interesting news. We'll probably touch on those in the year in review episode, as we recap what happened this year and talk about what we're looking forward to next year. And that'll be the final episode of 2025, unless something really big happens and we're like, oh, we really need to go live to talk about this. But yeah, it's been quite a year, so really looking forward to distilling it all, taking it all in a discussion, and then talking about what we're really looking forward to. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can follow us at Yesshift on Facebook and YouTube. You can find us on podcast apps, search Yesshift, you'll probably find us. And you can write to us via yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to let us know what your highlights of 2025 were in terms of Yes members and prog rock. And who knows, we might read your comments on the show. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all soon.